Welcome back to the Big Bloom. My name is Juditha, and I'm your mindset coach. I'm your dream life advocate. And on this podcast, we talk about your goals, your fears, your dreams, your insecurities, your confidence, your resilience, literally all the things that matter when you are creating your dream life. Because I'm trying to do the same thing too. So trust me when I say that I get it. Let's get into today's episode. So today we're going to talk about letting God help you, right? Being assisted in this process, knowing that you don't have to do it alone. And personally, for me, whether you call it God, the universe, source, energy, whatever you want to call it, I refer to it as all things. Nowadays, I just say God. I had an era where I would only say the universe, but now I feel like my relationship with God has grown so much that I just have to say God. That's just what resonates with me, right? But God, the universe, source, all the same thing to me. So yeah, I just want to put that disclaimer out there. So what do I mean when I say let God help you? What I mean by this is that there is something so relieving about knowing that I'm not doing this alone. There is something so relieving about knowing that there is a higher power working in my favor behind the scenes. There is something that makes me feel so good and less worried and less concerned knowing that I'm just not doing this alone. This entrepreneurial journey, this starting this business, like I don't have to do it alone. All the ideas that I need, the strategy, I don't have to do this alone. There is something out there that will help me and that will guide me. And I take so much pride, and there's another word that I'm trying to think of that it's not coming to me right now, but I take so much joy and gratitude in knowing that I am not doing this alone. And I can and will lean heavily on my source, lean heavily on the magic and the power of the divine of the universe. Like love I love that I get to do that. I love that I get to pray. I get to meditate and the ideas can come to me because I'm not doing this alone. There is something fucking magical about this world that I can't explain, and I choose to believe in it simply because it makes my life easier. That is something about me that I love. I don't feel like I am wrong for believing in what I believe in, and I don't feel like you are wrong in believing in whatever you believe in, because I think as long as it helps you, as long as it gets you through the day, then that's your prerogative, and I think that that's just fine. So, how do you actually, let's get to the shit that you came here for. How do you actually get God? I'm gonna try not to curse in this video. I realize it's about God. But then again, like if I'm being true to myself, like I don't think that God has a problem with it. Anyways, but how do you actually get God to help you, or her, not even get God to help you, because God is always going to do his part. So how do you allow God to help you on this journey? You say you want a bigger life, you want that successful ass business, you want the things that you dream about and imagine, the things that you see other people living, you want that. So how do you allow God to help you with that? There are three things that I'm going to tell you today that I feel like I have implemented in my life. It has given God permission to help me, to guide me so that I can do whatever the hell it is that I need to do to get to wherever it is that I want to get to. So the first thing that you are going to have to do if you want to allow God, source, the universe to help you is to trust in how your life experience is unfolding. And this is going to be the hardest part. This is going to be the hardest thing, because what I'm really asking you to do is to look at your life, look at everything that has happened, that is happening, and accept that there is some reason for it. Accept that there is a reason that you are here. Accept that you cannot think and believe that you are actually going to be stuck here. You need to accept that this is a season and this isn't your whole entire life. That is what it means to trust in the way the experience is unfolding. Trust in the way that your life is unfolding. Trust in the way that things have been going. It's basically adopting the philosophy that everything is happening for a reason. And I know that that sounds delusional a little bit, and that's okay with me, right? Because a little delusion has gotten me this far. A little delusion has allowed me to not go fucking insane and crazy and to stress everything and to worry about everything, because life isn't always perfect, right? And you don't always get to choose the circumstance because shit happens, like I said. But you always get to choose how you think about it, how you perceive it, the person that you're going to be in the middle of it. That's what you have control of. And that's what you get to choose. So you have to trust in the experience, trust in the way that it's unfolding. Like for me, recently, a lot of stuff has been going on with my job. Like they've been moving me around. I've been I've been in new positions. I have two jobs. So for both jobs, crazy enough, for both jobs, I've been moved into new positions for both jobs. And it's so new. It's so scary. I have a new schedule. Things are just different. And at first, I wanted to panic because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to work on my business? They're changing my schedule around. They're doing these things. They're moving me. Now I have to learn these other things. Like I understand that what they see for me is longevity, but what I see for myself is I'm trying to get the hell up out of here. So I was thinking to myself, how am I going to balance these things? And I was worried at first. And then I started to give it to God. Like I started to just be like, you know what, universe, you have not failed me yet. When I look back at my life, when I look back at how things have unfolded, things that I thought I wanted, things that didn't work out, things that I thought that I'm like, fuck, I really, really wanted this. Like when it comes down to it, I can look back and I can see why this happened so that this can happen. I can see why this didn't happen because I actually didn't want it or because this other thing was going to happen. Like when I look back, I can see how things were unfolding perfectly, even when it didn't feel like it, even when I felt like I was suffering, even when it felt like I was struggling. I can look back now and pull lessons from each of those seasons of my life. So I am choosing to not stress about this. I am choosing to not worry. And I'm choosing to see that this is going to work out for me some way, somehow. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to trust in the way that this experience is unfolding. And what I will say is that so far, it's been going good. Things have been working. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know how else to explain it, but when you start to trust in the experience, you're rewiring your brain to start to see how good things can be right now. You're rewiring your brain to trust that even when it feels a bit shaky now, eventually you will be on solid ground again. Trust in the way that things are unfolding and look back at your life because some way, somehow you made it this far. You've made it here, right? So, however things unfolded in the past, whatever happened, even if you didn't want it to, you still made it here and you're okay and you're safe and you'll be all right. Trust that life will continue to unfold in a way that'll surprise you, that'll delight you, that'll make you happy. The second thing that you're going to do to allow God to help you build this life, build this business, whatever your goal is, the second thing that you're going to do is you're going to talk with him, not at him. What I realize is that a lot of people, including myself, in the beginning, we don't recognize how to actually have a conversation with God. Like when you think about it, a conversation that happens between two people is when one person speaks and the other person listens, the other person speaks and the other person listens. But what most of us do is we pray and then we get up and we go about our day. You don't leave time to hear God. You don't allow God time to have his say in the conversation. You simply pray, you ask for what you want, you wish for what you want, you beg him for what you want, and then you move on. But not once have you given God his time to speak too. So what does that look like? That looks like meditating, right? As annoying as it sounds, or even just sitting outside and watching the wind blow, watching the birds fly, right? Whatever it takes for you to give yourself some quiet time after you pray, after you ask for what you want, if you're asking for ideas, you're asking for strategies, you're asking for help. But how are you going to receive the answer if you don't sit the fuck down? How are you going to receive the answer if you don't be quiet? If you don't spend time where there aren't thoughts just flying through your mind? If you're not always trying to plan your next move? Have a conversation with God, but you have to allow him to speak after you speak. You have to spend time in silence, spend time where you're not doing anything, be bored. And I know this is easier said than done because this is honestly my weakest point. I prioritize action a lot of the time, and I don't prioritize silence and sitting with myself enough. Okay. So do it more often. Like the times that I do spend in silence and meditating, just being quiet, I get my best ideas. So do not neglect that part of the journey. Do not neglect it because you think it's not taking you anywhere. Trust me when I say that 5 minutes in silence can take you way further than 5 minutes of doing some action or whatever you think is productive. So when you speak, allow God to speak too. Okay. Now, the last thing that you're going to do to allow God to help you on this journey, to help you build your dream life, you're going to pay him back. Yeah, you're going to pay him back. And I'm not talking about just about going to church and paying your tithes. I don't even go to church, so that's definitely not what I'm talking about. When I say pay him back, I am talking about being a physical representation of, and this is going to sound corny, but of love, being kind to other people, being nice, being generous, gifting when you can, giving when you can, helping when you can, not being judgmental. I believe that that is how you pay God back. God isn't asking for you to do something that isn't innately in your nature. Like for most people, it's in your nature to be kind. It's in your nature to be nice. It's in your nature to be thoughtful. And if it's not in your nature currently, then you have some work to do. But that is what I imagine is what it feels like to pay God back. And this is what I've done. I try my best to not be judgmental. I try my best to be kind. I try my best to help people. I mean, that's sort of my mission, right? That's sort of what I'm doing every day. And I'm not perfect at this. I'm not saying that I don't sometimes catch myself judging. I don't catch myself being, less than who I want to be. Like, of course, I'm human. It happens. I'm having a human experience. But 9 times out of 10, I'm aware of who I want to be. I'm aware of the fact that God does all these things for me. And I feel like all he really wants for me to do is to be kind, because there is no separation, right? If we are God, if God is within us, right? If we are all just consciousness experiencing itself, that's a conversation for another time. But if that's all it is, then me and you, we are the same person. I want to treat you the way that I want to be treated. And I feel like that's how we pay God back, by being kind to each other, by being nice, by showing love, by giving, by all those things. So that is another way that you allow God into your life and to help you more. When you help others, God helps you, period. And you do it from a place of not because I want to get something, but because I genuinely love how I feel when I help people. I genuinely love how I feel after I give. I genuinely love how I feel when I feel like God is using me to help other people. Okay? So that is the last thing that you're going to do if you want God to really help you on this journey. Okay? And that was it. That's all the tips that I have for you for today. I hope this was helpful. As always, if you want to join a community of women who are creating their dream life, if you have the ambition and you just want the mindset to match it so that you take consistent action, you stop quitting, you stop starting over, you post when you say you're gonna, you work on your business when you say you're gonna. If you want to become that type of woman, join the Rewired Society. If you're listening on the podcast, it's gonna be in the show notes, the link to join. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm gonna leave it in the description box. Again, I hope this was helpful and I hope you bloom today. I will see you ladies on the next episode.